So my name is Lina Khalifeh, and do you know the tower in Dubai, Khalifa Tower, the tallest tower in the world? I don't own it, just to let you know. So where do dreams come from? Why there is a burning desire inside of us to follow a dream we were born with, even though we try to fight it, ignore it, and forget about it. It will get back to our path somehow. Where do thoughts come from? Do you think your thoughts comes from yourself? Or is there another dimension that has all the information we need and vibrates on a certain frequency to our brains, providing us with what's so-called a thought? This thought might belong to you, or you can transfer it to someone else. You see, the universe speaks through us, all of us. And if we pay attention on what we send and receive, we'll have a better understanding about our journey in life. You see, one of the greatest poets of all time, Khalil Gibran, in his book, The Prophet, he said, "Your children are not your children. They're the sons and daughters for life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, as they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, as their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams." You see, when I was a little girl, there was a cartoon documentary called Ask Labiba in Jordan, back in Jordan. And this Labiba, she's a small blood cell that travels in the human body and explains scientific reasons why there's like a heart and blood, vessels, and also real-life experiments. Well, long time ago, cartoons made more sense than Pokemon than nowadays. So I was 6 years old. I was looking from the window. I was bored. I don't have an iPhone, right, or an iPad. And there was a car who crashed into a pole. And I jumped off the couch. I went downstairs, and I saw my father was standing there smoking a cigarette and looking at the car. And there's other like bunch of men just looking at the car. The car's bumper got damaged. And everybody was just looking at the car. And I remembered, I watched at this cartoon documentary, How to Fix a Car's Dent. And I told him, you need to pour boiling water on the car's dent. I was like, Lina, go back home. And I'm like, no, really, you need to listen to me. You need to get boiling water and like, go back. It's not safe here. So I was like annoyed because nobody really believed what I saw. And then they were all staring at the car for like 15 minutes. You know, when you stare too much, you try to fix problems. It never works. And then there's an old man passed by. He said, give me boiling water. And they got him boiling water, and he poured it on the car's dent. And then, because it's a metal, it expanded, and the car drove away. I was so frustrated that the idea of everybody can receive information, even kids, from different resources, and we have to pay attention to what we receive and kids receive. You see, I was in South Korea before I flew here. I was training kids and adults in self-defense sessions. And I trained 11 years old. And I asked one of the questions, what's the heaviest part in the human body? The kids darkly said, head. And the second day, I trained the adults. And I said, what's the heaviest part in the human body? And one woman said, my butt. I'm like, well, maybe. But she wasn't Korean. I mean, if she was Korean, I would be worried about plastic surgeries. She was Western, so that was fine. But you see how, like what happened, why kids can answer genuinely without even thinking or being worried about being judged. And that's how we see as we grow up, we lose these brain waves where we are more genuine and authentic. That's why we hesitate before we answer. We want to answer perfectly all the time. Also, when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot by boys in the streets because they thought girls belong inside. I did not even fit in the girls category. They used to play with Barbie and dolls, and they thought I'm a boy. And whenever I go outside in the street with the boys, I'm a girl, so I should belong inside. And at that time, there's nobody talks about like genderless, whatever. Nobody understands anything about that. And I was a kid. What I love to do is just go outside and prove myself. So I wanted to solve the problem. And I designed a superhero costume believing it would give me. I'm not. Where's my mobile? I'm not. I'm not obsessed with superheroes. I just have my cover as Batman. So I designed the superhero costume, believing it would give me superpowers. I would go outside and beat up those bullies. And I was thinking about the costume. So I stood in front of the mirror and I said, should I go with Superman costume? But Superman wears the leggings on, this yoga leggings, right? And on top of it, the red underwear. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be beaten up even more. So I decided to get my own superhero. I designed my own. So this was easy, like short t-shirt. I was like a kid, right? And I took the cover out of the bed, wrapped it around my neck, sneaked to my mother's room, opened the drawer, stole her socks, put it on my face, and I was ready. So confident. I went outside. The boys were playing soccer. I said, hey, idiots! Of course, the first reaction was everybody stopped and looked at me. And I said, it works, I scared them. But then they're like, burst into laughter. And they're like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, I forgot to give myself a superhero name. I'm like, how can I forget that? Then I'm like, think, Lina. I'm like, yeah, Batwoman. And there's no such thing called Batwoman. I'm like, yeah, there's one right now. I'm going to beat you up all in a second. Of course, they pushed me. I fell on the ground, done. That was the end of the fight. So my parents, I had even a scar on my face because I was born a fighter. I was born in an environment where I have to fight to stand up for myself. But all the other girls would just accept what society gives them. I don't accept. I ask so many questions since I'm a kid. I'm like, why this has to be for boys? Why this has to be for girls? Doesn't make any sense. So I get beaten up a lot for that. So I learned how to fight since I was a kid. My parents said, okay, Lina is big trouble. We need to get her into Taekwondo. And it was the best decision. So I enrolled in Taekwondo very young. And I was so passionate about Taekwondo. You see, Taekwondo and martial arts, it's all about discipline, commitment, and building your confidence through the journey of achieving the black belt. So you learn since you're a kid that life is chapters, levels. And to get to the next level, you have to be prepared for the next level. Are you prepared or you're going to be stuck in this chapter? So it's the same as life. It's all about growing and growth. What are you going to do in your next 10 years? Are you ready for another growth or you want to stick to the same area or like time you're in? So I learned that since I was a kid. Life is going to throw tests at us, just how to deal with it. So I was so good in Taekwondo, I got my black belt 3 Dan, I won 20 gold medals, and I was so passionate. My dream was to compete at the Olympics, and it never happened because I injured my knee really badly. I had to do 2 surgeries, and I went into depression. How come an athlete stopped training and stopped going to practice every day and just lay in bed because of any surgery? So dark thoughts took over my brain, and nobody helped me. Also, mental health and depression, nobody knows about it back like maybe 15, I don't know, even more years ago. Nobody talks about it in the Middle East. So the only person that can get me out of this was myself. So I opened the first book when I was in bed, and it was Chicken Soup for Teenage Soul. It helped me a lot because every time I looked at everybody else, they seem happy. They look normal. I'm like dying deep inside, but they look normal. And then when I opened that, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of problems in the world. I'm not just alone here. And it made me this confidence that it's okay. Live your day, day by day, heal, and just take it slowly. And if I have to regret one thing in my past life, in my teenage life and growing up, is fighting fate. I knew, all the signals told me, all the signs, I shouldn't be fighting to get to the Olympics. And I shouldn't fight the federation. I knew it. All the signs were there, but I wanted to prove that I can build my own destiny. But fate fights back. This is not your path, you cannot go there. So the more I fight, that's why I got injured. It's not because it just happened by coincidence. It's because I was fighting something that is not mine. I wanted something that is not mine. I did not accept that this is not my path. Then I accepted my path. I went to college, and my father is like, what do you want to study? Like, I don't know, I don't like education. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick French. I want to speak French. Why not? You know, I'm a Gemini. Who's a Gemini here? Oh, great. So you have two personalities? Well, that's like a myth. We have more than that. Come on. We have like 20 personalities. And now I added another French weird personality, which is perfect. So I studied French at the university, and one of my colleagues came to class one day with bruises on her face. And I told her what's going on. She said she was abused by her brother and father. And they told her, so why didn't you stand up for yourself? And she said, women are weak. We can't stand up for ourselves. I'm like, what? Women are not weak. And I said, I need to solve the problem. I can't accept hearing that phrase my entire life, that we cannot do anything. We can do something. So I started training women at the basement of my parents' house. Then my father's like, get out of the basement. There's a lot of people coming in. You need to find yourself a location, which is good. Because then I founded, SheFighter was born in 2012. I founded it was like a 100-meter square studio. And then everybody said, this idea is going to fail. Women will never be interested in martial arts and self-defense. But I proved them wrong. We trained about 18,000 women, and we certified more than 500 instructors globally. And this is our level system. So the trainers take intensive training courses, and they train other students and kids and women in different countries. So that one also was in Austria. We have a team in Germany. We have a team in Austria, in Switzerland. And the movement went growing with Africa, Latin America, and Korea. You can see that's in Korea. Since I started growing, I also realized that life is all about love. It's the highest frequency in the universe, and I don't see any dark side of life. And everybody talks about negative things all the time, but what I see is just pure love from people all over the world. And I always say that to people: if you don't have love, you cannot give away love. Let's say if you have money, if you don't have money, can you give money to others? You don't have it, you cannot give it. So if you don't have love, you cannot see love, or you cannot receive love, or even send love. You have to be fully, like a whole bubble of love. So I trained Emma Watson. It was in 2016. I trained her not to use her wound to hit people. I told her, okay, done. You're not Harry Potter, you know, you have to use your fist to punch people, you know. No, I trained her. And I trained like few other people and celebrities. I received, okay, I'll tell you a story about President Obama. Do you know that guy? He's President Obama. So I was in my office one day and I received an email, and the email title was the White House. I'm like, spam, trash. Like, why do I need to receive an email from the White House, right? And then next day I received a phone call, and Truecaller identified it, the White House. I'm like, holy shit, you know, this is real. Why they're calling me? What did I do? Are they seeing me or watching me? I'm like, okay, I'll answer. Hello. And the secretary of President Obama is like, Lina, finally you answered. You know, we emailed you. I'm like, yeah, well, I did not receive that. And they're like, you're invited to the White House. I'm like, great. And she's like, well, maybe President Obama will be there. I'm like, I thought it's his house. He should be there, right? It's like, yeah, no, you know, he's busy, he's around, but maybe he's going to be there. So I'm like, fine. So I flew all the way to Washington, D.C. I went to the White House, and I was texting my friend, and suddenly President Obama, he said, where is Lina? I'm like, what? Is he watching me? And I stood up. The video is on YouTube, and he said, we want to empower leaders of social change like Lina Khalifeh. And my father just thought I'm a big troublemaker. So, so he mentioned me in his speech, and he gave me a lot of recognition, and he supported me because in the Middle East also they love him. They love President Obama. So I had a huge support also coming from men because they support him. I received an award with Hillary Clinton. It was in 2018. I did not hurt her hand. It wasn't me. I think she had a fight before she met me. I don't know. And I have received this year the ESPYs Award. If you know the ESPYs, it's like the biggest sports awards in Los Angeles by UFC and ESPN. So there's a lot of challenges, and at the same time, there's a lot of good things. So I always focus on the good things. I thought of, by the way, if you need any information, SheFighter.com. And we're still expanding our system and partnering up with many countries globally. But I want to teach you tonight how to beat up someone you love. No, not really you love. I mean your husband, maybe. Maybe, if you want to practice on your husband. So are you ready to get some self-defense techniques? Do you want to stand up and maybe do some techniques? Okay, I have a volunteer, Jasmine. She's been attending my session since the morning. She's so ready. Yeah. Okay, so I'll show you. It's going to be simple technique. It's not going to be like, that's why I'm taking off my jacket. It's not hard, I'm not going to throw anybody off the stage. Okay. Okay, I'll teach you. So self-defense is all about technique, and how you stand is important. So I'll just demonstrate this. I'll show you. If Jasmine is standing closing her legs, and I'm the I'm the evil attacker, and I pull her all the way toward me, she's going to lose balance. But if Jasmine puts a fight stance on toward the ground, more like grounded toward the gravity, it's going to be hard to pull her off the ground. But doesn't mean that Jasmine has to walk like this all the time, right? She just put a fight stance when something happens. And let's say, I'm going to teach you that one now. So let's say I'm grabbing her hand and she wants to release her hand. She's grounded, she wants to release her hand. What is she going to do? Is she going to cry maybe? Or if she pulls, it's like taking, like all my body weight has to, so she's not going to get out of it. It's like more force. What she wants to do is she wants to get her hand of the thumb area, the fingers area, all the way here. So she can use the other hand. Let's say if my hand grip is really tight, she can make a fist, use the other hand, and take it off. Okay? So again. Okay, let's do it with the person next to you. Why don't you shake their hand? And we can do it a few times. So. Yeah. And you can do it, Jasmine. So you showed them. That one. Yeah. Okay, perfect. The other technique, that was easy, right? Did you punch someone else? So we're going to do both hands. So you're going to do it on me first. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. That's what. Okay, so what if Jasmine is the attacker now and she's grabbing both my hands? I'm going to demonstrate fast and then I'm going to explain it. Okay, so what happened? What happened is I crossed both my hands. You cannot also take their body weight. They're big, right? You don't want to add that force. So you just cross your hand, hit both their bones together, and release both your hands from the thumb area. Okay, Jasmine, she's going to do it. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. By the person next to you. Do it again. Oh!
You bang the hands against each other. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Okay, I'll give you one more technique. One more technique. Anybody with nose job or plastic surgery? No, you're fine. Okay. If you have any nose job, don't do that exercise. You're going to punch yourself. Okay, so what if I grab with both hands one hand and she wants to release her hand? What you want to do is grab from top, make a fist, grab from top, and just take off her hand and attack me back on the nose. Yeah. So again, 1, 2, and done. Okay, so thank you so much.